when my heart stopped beating.
Lots of people here will be familiar with your name. You've been really active in theatre and music on the island for many, many years, haven't you?
That's right, yes. Grew up on the island and went to Christy and and did lots of shows at Ballakermeen as well when I was there. And I was in the Manx Youth Band and Manx Concert Brass as well, so I had lots of different things going on in the music scene.
It does seem to be a really right place to kind of nurture musical and theatrical talent here.
It definitely is. I mean, the music festival is such a special thing for the island, and and it's so brilliant that everybody takes part and encourages each other, and it's such a great place, I think, for young people to get into music.
So since you've left the Isle of Man, what have you been doing? Because you've been performing all over the world, haven't you?
That's right, yes. I'm doing theatre stuff and singing all over the world. So, I trained in musical theatre at Mount View in London. And since then I've been working in musical theatre, lots of touring and a bit of West End, and been to Toronto for 6 weeks doing one show, and then lots of extra singing work as well. I've been doing some sort of classical crossover work, which takes me literally all over the world. So I've been as far as Sri Lanka and done lots around the States and lots in Russia. It's all been quite exciting, quite a whirlwind.
Your family must be very proud, because of course your whole family really are quite sort of musical, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. My dad still conducts the big choirs on the Isle of Man, so he's still very active in the music scene there, that's right.
It's lovely to see as well that you've done recording at Abbey Road. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was amazing. It was for, believe it or not, it was for Kung Fu Panda 3.
No way!
So it was for a Hollywood film, but it was with Hans Zimmer, so he was running the recording session. So it was fantastic working with him, and very gentlemanly he was too.
Oh gosh! So were you singing on the film then, or?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, as part of a choir, that one. But it was a fantastic experience.
Summertime. Jumping and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's.
We should say though, speaking of being in choirs, you've actually recorded your own album though, haven't you? You've got a debut album out. What can we expect from that?
Yeah, that's right. So last year, I'd promised myself I was finally going to get around to doing it. I'd been thinking about it for about 5 years, and I thought, well, it's kind of now or never, let's just do it. So, it's called Enraptured, and it's a mix of classical crossover and jazz and musical theatre, but all kind of connected very well with really lovely original chamber orchestrations, which I've been involved with arranging as well.
My heart wants to beat like the wings of the birds that rise from a lake to the trees. My heart wants to sigh like a chime that flies.
Such a creative, fulfilling experience being able to work with a brilliant arranger that was actually a friend of my sister's from university, a friend of Susie's. And we just put together something that I'm just so proud of. And it's already available on CD just before Christmas, but we are releasing online on the 24th of April. So
good time. Well, we'll put up the links to that so people can get their hands on that. But in the meantime, you're coming back and you're going to be playing the lead role in a very interesting revival piece. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's right. So the piece is called Noel and Gertie, and if you don't know, that's Noel Coward and Gertrude Lawrence, and it is just a two-hander. So it's quite a full-on piece for just the two actors. It's a very cleverly put together piece from the diaries and letters and plays of Noel Coward, and it's like watching two brilliantly interwoven biopics of the two stars. So Gertrude Lawrence isn't quite so well known these days, but she was actually a bigger star than him in her day, and she was, one of the first kind of major celebrities because she was the star of theatre in the West End and on Broadway, and her face was known all over the world. There's not so much recorded footage of her, of course, because the theatre wasn't recorded in those days. So I've had, a slightly more of a challenge to get to know what she was like and what she was like as a performer.
We shall still be together when our life's journey ends, for wherever we chance.
But what's so brilliant about the piece is that Noel Coward was actually her friend from childhood, so they'd known each other all their lives, and his diaries are so detailed and they describe her brilliantly. So I've been able to basically take his word for how to play all these characters. And so the piece brings lots of extracts of his most famous works. So Private Lives, Blithe Spirit, Brief Encounter, Red Peppers. So even if you don't think you know all of his plays, actually you'll definitely know some of those sections because some of those films are just so famous as well. So we play the most iconic scenes, and it tells the story of their friendship as well as showing all those brilliant, infamous scenes and lots of his songwriting, of course, as well.
Don't put your daughter on the stage. Although your baby may be keen on a stage career, how can I make it clear this is not a good idea for her to hope? Dear Mrs. Worthington, is on the face of it absurd. Her personality is not in reality.
Because they actually had, by the sound of things, quite a complicated relationship, didn't they?
They did, in some ways. I mean, they were incredibly close friends. At times, their relationship was quite feisty, quite volatile. I think, she was probably quite hard work. She was a bit of a diva, but she was his muse. He was just inspired by her kind of crazy changes of mood and character that he would write. Most of his works were actually written for her as a star vehicle for her. So, the most famous characters in Private Lives and Blithe Spirit, they were specifically written for her. So it's very exciting to be able to bring that to the stage right now.
And what a wonderful era to depict as well, isn't it, that era?
That's right. I mean, it's hugely glamorous. I mean, we know from watching Downton that, everybody's still interested in that period. So it's basically it goes from the early 20s into the 40s, right up until she was in The King and I on Broadway.
And when you went away, then I was sad because, for then I realized what a fool I was.
Oh, darling, you look so sweet in your little dressing gown.
It is pretty ravishing, isn't it?
Do you mind if I come round and kiss you?
So what does it mean then for you to be able to bring this back to the Isle of Man and return to the Gaiety Theatre?
Oh, it's so special. I keep telling everybody on the tour, because we've been to so many theatres now. I think there's about 30 different venues on the tour schedule. And I keep telling everybody, well, you just wait till we get to the Isle of Man. This is the most beautiful one.
Everyone does say that.
We've been to Buxton Opera House, which is gorgeous, and it's another Frank Matcham theatre, but I call it the baby sister. It's like the baby sister of the Gaiety, because they're virtually identical front of house, but Buxton's a bit smaller than the Gaiety. So I said, the Gaiety's just absolutely stunning, you won't believe it. And it's not, we don't, as professionals, we don't often get to go to the Isle of Man. It's not on the usual touring schedule. So they have done it because I'm in the show. That's brilliant that I'm able to come back now and perform in my hometown, really, which is fabulous, yeah.
Oh, it sounds wonderful, and hopefully lots of people will turn out to see you. So when you finish with this then, when it does eventually finish, what will be next for you?
Well, I'm hoping to plug the album a bit more because I kind of went straight into Panto as soon as I'd finished recording the album, and then it's kind of gone straight into Noel and Gertie. So I haven't really had a chance to really put my focus on that. So it'd be great to do a couple of launch gigs. Perhaps I'll come to the island and do one as well. That would be great. Yeah, and then just seeing what else is on the horizon on the audition circuit as we go back to.
Brilliant. Well, coming to Noel and Gertie first, then just remind people of when the dates are and when we can actually see you at the Gaiety Theatre Stage.
It's the 27th and 28th of April. So that's the Thursday and Friday nights.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us, Helen. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much.
Why must the show go on? It can't be all that indispensable.